everyone, welcome to this episode of Claims Never Sleep. I'm Meghan Henry and joined by co-host Jen. Hey, Jen.
Hello, everyone is in for a treat today.
Yes, you are. So today we are joined by Alex Santo, and you had met Alex like last year, and she was a practicing attorney for some time and then moved over to claims. So you could really relate to her and her story, and her path a little bit, right?
Yes, and what really connected us at the conference was that her family has a lake house at the same lake that my family used to have a lake house. And so we bonded over lakes in the Poconos, and I got to learn a little bit more about her and her birds.
Yes. And her love for birds too. And unfortunately, I don't know if you all will get to see it, but we did get to see one of her birds and he's adorable. So sorry if you didn't get to see it, but we did.
But everyone will get to hear a little bit of the tweeting in the background.
Yes. But Alex is delightful. I think you will really enjoy it. So with that, let's bring her in.
This is the Claims Never Sleep podcast, presented by Cruiser Mitchell, with your host, Meghan Henry.
Good morning, Alex. Welcome to this episode of Claims Never Sleep. I'm so happy to have you. How are you today?
I'm good. Good morning, Jen and Meghan. I'm so happy to be here. I'm a fan of the podcast. So happy to finally be on.
I love when I get a fan on. We keep getting more, so we must be doing something right. It's much better than something like, oh, I hate this podcast, but you guys made me come on.
Exactly.
But you and Jen met like a few weeks ago, I believe, right? At the or did you meet last year? Tell me your backstory. Oh, so you guys go way back, a whole year.
Yes.
Yes, I met Jen last year at the Execu Summit, the Women's Conference at Mohegan Sun in Connecticut. At one of the events, I believe, at a happy hour or one of the sessions, and we kind of bonded because she told me she's from Northeast Pennsylvania, and I told her how my family's had a house in the Hideout for years, and how we come up, and her grandparents had a house in the Hideout. So I was like, oh, it's such a small world. So many people have connections to Northeast Pennsylvania.
Wait, so this place is called the Hideout?
Yeah.
I kind of like, can you jump off cliffs and stuff there? Because that sounds like the things that you might do at the Hideout.
Well, no, there's no cliffs, but it's a private community. They have a pool, a lake, tennis courts. So a lot of people from New York and New Jersey, I guess, as their summer homes come up here, for weekends, holidays, or skiing. So all kinds of stuff.
Yes, it has like a real 70s vibe to it.
Yeah.
Yes, that's how I'm picturing it in my mind right now. I'm having a very like almost like Dirty Dancing-esque kind of look to it.
A little bit. You're almost right.
Yeah, don't kill it. It's just that's what I'm gonna keep in my head, and that's what's staying.
And the funny thing is, my grandparents had a house there in the 70s, 80s, 90s. And so like, that's my memories are also of like that era, because my aunts and uncles used to keep their clothes up there that they had from high school, like in the drawers. Oh, yeah. And so when we go up there, we'd be like, we need a sweatshirt, or we need a pair of pants. It was very like 1976 vibe.
Oh, I think everyone did that. My grandparents had a house in the Cape, and that's like the same thing. Like, you forgot clothes, don't worry, there's some there. And it was like, my grandparents had 5 kids, and everyone had their week that they're allowed to use at the Cape, and who knows whose sweatshirts or shorts you were wearing, or a bathing suit, or a real bind.
Or what decade it was from, but it's there.
Yes,
exactly.
Hilarious. Well, I'm so happy that you finally were able to join us, and I'm thrilled to sit down and chat with you. So, what I understand is that you did go to law school, but I'm curious is, what was your path there? Were you, were you those people that like you knew you were going to go to law school, or did you kind of fall into it because you didn't know what else you were going to do? Because that was what I did. What was your path?
Well, the funny thing is, I did not have any lawyers in my immediate family. And when I was younger, I would play judge and have my sisters and my cousins, and I'd rule over stuff, like they'd fight and they would come before me. So I thought, I was going to become a judge. And the only way to become a judge is to go to law school. So that's what I did. And so
I kind of love that.
There is no direct pathway to become a judge without becoming a lawyer first. So I was like, I guess I'll do this first. And so I did that, and things changed. I'm not a judge. I'm in the insurance industry, but I think with anything, when you go to law school, things change. Like I thought I would be an ADA, but I kind of did that a little bit. I had an externship and I didn't really like it. I was in the special bureau in the Brooklyn DA's office where they prosecuted school children for crimes and parents, and it was really like, it didn't settle right with me. It was kind of sad. I was like, this isn't for me. So I after law school, I worked for he's no longer in office, but he was the assistant speaker of the New York Assembly. So I worked on legislation, grants. I wrote some of the speeches. I went to events with him because I thought maybe, I could do this and become a judge, but politics is a dirty game sometimes. And I just didn't want to do that. And I wanted to get back to what I went to law school for, which was to practice law. And it's kind of funny because my husband now, we were friends at the time. He's a defense attorney, and he's like, you should do that. You'd get a lot of good experience doing insurance defense. And he was right. So then I started working for an insurance defense firm where I handled, in New York. So I handled cases from like inception to trial, doing everything, depositions, court appearances, writing reports, all the fun stuff. And then I worked at another firm, and when COVID hit, I was just like, I can't do this anymore. It was really hard to measure my life just doing reports all day. It was just like, I can't do this, measuring every 6 minutes. And it was just awful. It was just so isolating. And before COVID, one of my good friends, Beth, worked at like this big insurance carrier who I worked at a firm with, and she was like, oh, you should go work at a firm. You should work at an insurance carrier. You really like it. And I was like, I don't know. Would I be bored? I don't think it's for me. But then during COVID, I was like, maybe I should make that change. And she kind of, recommended me, and I got my foot in the door. So I worked at my first carrier, I started in 2021. And I handled a lot of healthcare claims. So nursing homes, hospitals. And then I did and then I did some general liability, and I liked it. It was a really good company. I got a lot of good training. I learned a lot because when you're a practicing law, like even insurance defense, you don't understand the policies or the coverage, and you're just like, what is this? So you learn everything behind it, like, what it is, what's covered, what's not covered. And then after working there about over a year, I got the opportunity to come over to Golden Bear, which has been really great. I've been there for 3 years now, and I really like it. I handle a variety of claims, third-party property, general liability. We have a book of cannabis claims that I handle, and lawyers malpractice. So I handle a bit of everything, and I really like it. I work with a lot of great people like Kim Moody and my other manager, Beth, and just so many great people. I don't want to forget to name someone, but it's been really
like the
great.
Oscars.
Exactly. You didn't say my name.
The music started playing. I had to shut up.
Golden Bear is a small insurance company. It's a family-run insurance company, so it's different than the bigger companies, which is really good. And I would have never been able to work there because it's a California company, and I'm on the East Coast. So it's really great that I get to interact with different people all over.
So I have a lot of questions, and we're gonna backpedal back a little bit, and some are totally off topic. But so you said that your husband worked in insurance defense as well. Did you guys go to law school together?
No, we did not go to law school together.
So did you know? Sorry, we're like totally sidetracking off of claims, but I'm just curious. So did you guys like meet out like before going to law school, and then you just both went to law school, or what was the story? I'm just curious.
Oh yeah, sure. My husband was already a lawyer when I met him. He's about 5 years older than me. So I met him. We went to an event. So I met him at the Salty Dog Bar in Brooklyn. We were both going to an event, and we met there. So I was he was already a lawyer. I was in law school and we were friends, and it was nice to have someone. Like, I didn't have anybody who's been to law school before, so I'd be like asking questions. I'm sure he found it annoying.
But that was probably so helpful for you too. And also just like understanding the job market and like what the jobs really are. Because I remember applying to jobs and I didn't have a faintest idea of what I was applying to, because you just go on the firm's website and you know how like firm websites can list so many things, but you don't really know what they're really good at, right? Or what, like,
exactly,
you know, so I were blindly applying. I didn't know who did what. And I didn't really even know anybody, you know, and at least then you had someone on the inside who could be like, oh, I know about this firm and I think they're like looking for someone, or, you know, or I know so-and-so over here, let me introduce you. Like that was probably pretty helpful.
Oh yeah, definitely. And I remember when I first started, I was like, because you don't know what billing is. I'm like, what am I supposed to do?
Oh yeah.
What do you write? And he was like, all right, write this, write that. I was like, okay. He gave me I remember when I first started, I had to do a deposition, and I was like, I don't know what to do. He gave me his old transcripts, and he was like, read this. This will help you. Like, okay, I'm not a deer in the headlights completely, but it was very helpful.
I remember going into my like first deposition ever, taking out my own and having probably like a 15-page outline. Like I was ready. I mean, it was like I remember asking one of the other attorneys who had like many more years of experience than I am, and I was like, okay, what do I do? He's like, you know, this is the biggest mistake I see attorneys make in depositions. He's like, you're so set on your outline and you ask a question, but you don't actually listen to the answer and you just move on to the next question. And I was like, oh yeah, it's probably a really good idea. He's like, yeah, like you'll realize you don't really need the outline. Like you can go back to it to make sure you don't miss anything, but don't be married to your outline. It was like the best advice someone had given me at that point, because I would have just been like blindly going through and like checking it off because I was just so terrified of the whole experience. Not scared anymore, but first year associate, I was terrified.
Exactly. That's completely understandable. I felt the same way.
The whole idea of just being a lawyer after law school is terrifying, right? Because there's no preparation. Like I remember the first night my husband was on call as a doctor, and he's like, they're calling me and they want me to answer the question. And it's kind of like that same feeling, like, oh my gosh, what am I doing? Like I am so ill prepared for this.
Yeah, but at least it's not life or death.
Yeah, you're not going to kill anybody. It'll be okay.
It was, as an aside, they had him on hand call. Like the hospital he worked at had like specific doctor for hand injuries. And it was somebody who had like put a nail gun and put a nail right through their hand. And he was just like, I have no idea what to tell them. But luckily, like they also kind of like we would be able to call on a partner. Like he called the fellow, or you can call the attending.
Yeah.
Like, there's somebody who can always check your work for you and make sure you're doing it correct. But yes, we're a little less risky.
Exactly.
Yes. So and another thing that you said that I want to ask you some more about, though, is that you said you handle cannabis claims. And what's like the nature of the claims that you're seeing right now?
It could be, a variety of different things. We've had harassment claims, by employees, assaults at the cannabis farm.
That
Could
makes
be,
sense.
thefts. We get a lot of testing claims from testing labs on the cannabis that something's wrong.
Interesting.
You can get copyright claims that the cannabis store used some kind of copyright illegally. It just, it could be a variety of things.
Really different stuff. Yeah. Well, it's funny because totally unrelated, but last time when we were getting ice cream, there's like a shop next door. And it's not a cannabis shop, but it's a cannabis paraphernalia shop. And the girls were like peering through the window, being like, what is this stuff? I'm like, this is not the good placement next to the ice cream shop.
No.
Like, and I'm like, and the other mom and I are like, I don't want to answer any of their questions. We're like, oh, look at over here. They cleaned the dogs down here. Let's look at that. Let's look at the groomer.
segue.
Yeah, they're like, oh. But that's really interesting because it's totally not the claims I would think that you would see, but they do make sense. And that's also, it's like just different stuff to get experience with, like copyright sort of. You probably don't see a lot of copyright claims, or maybe you do, but I imagine that's less common to see.
It's usually not covered. I
Yeah.
think it was covered at one point. I think you would need a specific policy for it, but
Yeah.
yeah, it is pretty interesting.
So how did you find when you were ready to leave practicing and like private practice? Like, how was that transition to you now that you could let go of the 6-minute interval? Like, but did you still find like that gravitation, like, oh, like I need to account for my time now, I'm like, was that difficult for you, or you were like, I've never been happier?
Oh, I've never been happier. No. It is a transition, though. I know a lot of attorneys make the transition to claims examiners. I know Jen did it for a while, and most of my friends actually left firms to go to carriers because there's more of a work-life balance. Unless and then some firms are changing; they're being more accommodating, which is really good. But I never looked back. I mean, I don't think I would go back to practicing, but you never know. Whatever, life happens, you might have to. So it's good to have, that fallback. But I think being an attorney makes me a better adjuster because I understand the court system. I know how judges think. I know how attorneys think. If you get a trip and fall case, I know what questions need to be asked. I know what needs to be done. And sometimes defense counsel probably gets so mad at me because I'm like, did you do this? Did you do that? And they're like, I know how to do my job. I'm like, yeah, I know, but I have to do mine too. So.
Well, and also it's just an appreciation to like another set of eyes and another perspective on things that,
Exactly.
can only help things out. It's not undermining counsel.
No.
That's the counsel getting in their own head. You know what I mean? Like, you're not undermining their ability. You're just like adding to it. And maybe they've already thought of it, but you don't know. So,
Exactly.
it doesn't hurt just to say, oh, these are my thoughts. I appreciate it. Like, I know sometimes when I talk to adjusters and they have like just yesterday I was on the phone with someone and he was like, oh, I think we need to do this. I'm like, that's a great idea. I hadn't, thought of that. I'm like, you're supposed to, we should go forward with a team mentality, not the attorney just knows everything and we just report.
No, I 100% agree. It is a team effort. We should work together and collaborate. But you're 100% correct.
So what, now that you're, outside of practicing and you're in the claims world, though, what are some of in the claims that you see, what are some of your pressure points or pain points that you experience?
I think it's tough. I mean, it's different because, it's more of a customer service job than anything else. And you're dealing with a lot of demanding people. It could be insureds or it could be, claimants or plaintiffs or counsel. So it is tough. And then I have to balance, I have to have an adequate reserve because that means that, underwriting is pricing the policies and the rates correctly. Like, you have a lot of different people to answer to. It could be, your managers, other departments. So it could be difficult. But I enjoy it at the same time. So I get to, do all different kinds of things and handle cases all over the US, which, before when I was at a firm, I was just handling New York stuff, which I like, I'm not disliking, but sometimes it's nice to, go somewhere else or learn about, like, say Florida has a nuance or something, or California's got some different case law or something else. So that's always exciting. Like, you're always learning new things.
Exciting, but also at the same time, you're like, oh, now I'm in California, this jurisdiction stinks, and now I'm in Florida, and this jurisdiction has its own problems. Like, New York has its own problems too. So.
Exactly.
But everywhere there's like, it's the idiosyncrasies of that particular jurisdiction,
Exactly.
So, but what do you have you experienced some challenges though? Like given that you are working at a company that is based on the West Coast, like I'm sure for your daily routine that could probably be difficult too, because do you find that sometimes you tend to like work later because of the time difference, or are you really good with your boundaries?
I think at first I wasn't as good, but over time it gets better and better. I think in the beginning, so we used to just have like a few remote people and a lot of people in our office in California. But now it's kind of we've have more remote people on the West Coast. So in the beginning, I was getting a lot of California claims, which you kind of try to manage. I'll make the meetings later. But over time, we've hired more people on the West Coast who are remote. I think we have someone in Colorado, Montana. So sometimes they'll give them the California claims and they'll give me a lot more East Coast or maybe even like, some Southern because, the time difference isn't so bad. I think the worst is when I had a Hawaii claim because the time difference is just like crazy. And the insured was like, can we talk at 9 o'clock at night? And I was like, no, can we do it a little earlier? Well, you're in California. It's not. I'm like, no, I'm not. I'm in New York.
Yeah.
Can we do it a little earlier? But you kind of just have to straddle both worlds. Like I've had mediations that are on the West Coast, so I'll just start working later, even though I prefer to work earlier. I'll just like fix my schedule.
Yeah. But that is like, I guess the the beauty of being in claims though too is that you can adjust your schedule. I mean, I feel like the claims industry was the early adopters of the remote work atmosphere. So I feel like it's just more as a industry that's more accustomed to like that flexibility.
Oh, 100%. I remember when COVID hit and I was working at a law firm and nobody knew what to do. They were
I know.
oh, we don't know. You can't work remote. We don't have we don't have the capabilities. And, now I've been working remote like 4 years and I have my home office. I do everything. And I was like, oh, I can't believe I was in an office all the time when I could do this all at home and have more flexibility and, have more of a work-life balance.
Yeah. That was so interesting, I feel like during COVID too, when there were some firms I noticed that just were just not ready for this. And like also a lot of them had the false belief, like many that this was it's only for 2 weeks. Like we can handle this for 2 weeks. But I am glad that it opened up the eyes to many law firms that, while FaceTime is important and it's helpful, especially for younger associates, that like being in an office doesn't necessarily is not a necessity either. And that I remember my old firm, like I used to try to work remote, but I knew if I asked, the answer would be no. So I would just do it secretly. Right. Like, you don't know where I am. I could be at a deposition. I could be at a mediation. I could be at a site inspection. So I would just work from home like 1 or 2 days a week and just not tell anybody.
No, I did the same thing. I would, I lived in Brooklyn and I was getting court appearances in Suffolk County because I had a car and that would take me 3 hours each way. And the partner I worked for was like, well, you have to come in afterwards. And I was like, I am not doing that. I'm just going to secretly work from home. Hopefully no one notices.
Yeah. The court went really long.
Yeah.
It is
5 hours long.
Which is entirely possible in any of the boroughs.
Not in Suffolk, but Kings, you can be there all day.
That's true.
Well, did you find it difficult though? I know everyone talks about like, going from a law firm to claims increases your work-life balance. But at the same time, I mean, the podcast name is Claims Never Sleep. I mean, they don't go away. There's no way to ever feel finished at the end of a day of handling claims because there's always so much more to do. So did you have to kind of teach yourself to be like, okay, at 5 o'clock, I'm just done?
See, the thing is, I say that, and then every day at night I check my email. So I'm not really learning because I'm like, oh, what if something happens? I get a lot of notice-only claims. So sometimes the insured will be like, I got served. I need counsel right now. So it is hard. I try to put my phone in a different room, but I I try to have boundaries, but I still check my phone after 5 just in case. Because like you said, it never ends. It's not like a job where you could leave and I'm done like some jobs are. It's like you go on vacation, I was telling my manager, he was like, "Oh, you should go on vacation." And I was like, "Yeah, I'm gonna come back to like 300 emails, so I don't really want to." It's
it's not any better on this side. I went on vacation like the week after Easter, and I'm still recovering.
Yeah, because you probably missed something. You're like, "Oh, did I see every single email?"
It is really difficult. I tried to handle claims part-time, and it was virtually impossible because I didn't work Wednesdays and Fridays. And so then on Thursdays and Mondays, I would start my day with like anywhere from 80 to 100 emails. Mm-hmm. And it would just take me all morning just to dig out of that before you can even get into the meat of the work. And so I found it, unless you did do like that night or, check-in, it's still not easy. It's nice to not have the billable hour and all the 3-hour rides to the courthouse, but it's not an easy profession for sure.
Yes. And I have found that like I need to, for myself, like I put on, like I could just bleed into the night. And thankfully kids activities can just, they cut it off right there. At 5:15 I need to drive someone somewhere. Mm-hmm. But then the emails still don't stop. So I'm always finding like I'm like still not detaching. And I need to do a better job as well at just like being like, okay, like I don't need to check this right now. There's not an emergency, but sometimes there is though. That's the thing. Sometimes there's something that needs to be dealt with outside of the typical, 9 to 5 hours.
Exactly.
So a little off topic, but Jen had said that you are a photographer and quite talented at that.
Yes. I always had my iPhone, and then a couple of years ago I got a camera, and I've gotten really into birding. It just kind of creeps up on you.
Oh, it's the age.
I'm in my, I guess, coastal grandmother era, you would call it.
Yeah.
But yes, I've been taking pictures, and my husband, I send them to my friends and my family, and they're probably like, "Oh, stop." And then my husband's like, "You should submit them." So they had this contest. I went hiking at this, I think it was like the Delaware or Van Scott Reserve, and I took a picture, and you could submit it, and I won runner-up, and they blew up my picture, and it was in a gallery in Milford, Pennsylvania for like a month. And I have it now. It's hanging up downstairs. But yeah, it was nice. So I was like, oh, I actually am good. Better than I thought.
What kind of bird was it?
So that picture was not a bird. It's I could send it to you guys. It was a butterfly on a flower, but yeah.
Oh, wow. Yes, please do.
Yeah, I will.
I joke with my friend Stacy about being in our bird watching phase. And I had told her daughter, I was like, for Christmas to get her one of those, the camera feeders, so she could watch them.
I actually had one for a while, and it's fun, but you got to charge it, and squirrels get in it. You can't deter them at all. They have squirrel-proof food. I bought that. Does not work. No. You put cayenne pepper. They'll eat anything. They don't care. No. But you could get a lot of cool birds. Like there's like a hummingbird attachment I put on. I got those. You get blue jays. Everything. But yeah, you just all of a sudden you're sitting outside and you're like, oh, that's a black-capped chickadee, and that's I think I saw a red-shouldered hawk a couple weeks ago, and I was like, that's really cool.
So if you don't have it already, you should get yourself a bird bingo. You can really learn all the birds and their like where they come from and everything. Like when my daughter was younger, she had a bird obsession, so she got bird bingo, but it's still a fan favorite in our house to play bird bingo.
That is fun. I'm gonna do that.
That's really funny. A lot of my neighbors have bird feeders and are into watching birds, but the bears have been getting into their bird feeders and come right on their porch. Like we'll go right up on the back porch. So the bird feeders have been taken down.
Yeah. Yeah. But I would like to go bear watching too, but they're not common around me, so it would be more of an excitement than for you.
I was driving to Honesdale last year with my husband, and we saw a bear just walking on 191. So it was huge. It must have been like 900 pounds. And I was like, this thing is terrifying. I would not want to see it if I wasn't in the car. It's terrifying.
I've seen bears on 476. I mean, they will just, they have not a care in the world.
Nope.
They're black bears. They're friendly bears, right?
I don't know.
So other awards though you've gotten, we were talking about this before we started recording though. You were recently recognized by Rise Professionals though, which is awesome. Congratulations. And I love that network. So first of all, how did you get involved in Rise?
So I'm kind of newer to Rise. I'm more involved I've been more involved with CLM, but it's a really good organization. And I was lucky I got nominated and won that award. And it's good that there are these organizations now that, are recognizing younger insurance professionals. Because I feel like over the years, it's mostly recognized people who are more established, which I think is great. I think that they have a lot to offer. But I think, we should look towards the younger people because, they're the future. We have to get more younger people into insurance. I think now there's there's a struggle to find people. I know firms are having a hard time and, we're having a hard time too. Like we're having a lot of people retire and age out of the industry. So I think it's really cool that Rise is, recognizing, the younger people and they're recognizing so many other people. I think it's just such a great organization and I'm happy and honored to be recognized, and I look forward to going to Florida next month, so it should be fun.
Oh, is it their annual conference next month?
Yes.
Oh, good. Where in Florida is it?
I think it's in Fort Lauderdale.
Okay. Not bad.
So, and then in addition to the Rise 35 under 35, you were also nominated for the two CLM awards, correct? The Phenoms under 40 and the Young Professional of the Year?
Yes.
That's incredible. Like, number one, you're just joking about being a coastal grandma and being in your bird watching days, but you're being nominated for these Young Professional Awards, so you're not
yeah.
No.
So, it was probably, pretty amazing experience with the Young CLM, Young Professional of the Year. That's a really large group of people and a really talented group of people. So to be recognized by them, that's, quite an accomplishment as well.
Thank you. Yeah, I'm so honored. I think CLM is a great organization. I've been lucky to speak at a bunch of their conferences and met so many interesting people. They always put on good panels, I think, always something like really interesting. And, I look forward to going to more of their events.
Yeah, they do a very, very good job. But so one thing that you said this has come up a lot on this podcast. So I'm curious to hear your thoughts on it, is your sentiment that we need to figure out how to attract the younger generation into insurance, because I think the idea in a lot of minds is like, oh, it's insurance, it's boring, it's old, it's stodgy. Why would I ever do that? And I don't have the answer. And I ask this pretty much every single person who comes on this podcast that mentions that. I'm like, what do you think we should do? But I'm curious, what do you think though? How can we as an industry attract this younger group of professionals who are coming out of school to go into insurance? Because I feel like it's not they don't look at it as flashy like banking or something, but it has just as much as potential and career advancement opportunities as all these other industries, and not to mention there's so many more options, and it's probably a little bit easier to break into than banking.
Yes. I think it's so hard. I talked about this with Jen, but when you graduate law school, you kind of only given two options. They panels and stuff. And it's like, well, you can go to government work or you could work at a firm. And it could either be like a white shoe firm or, you know, a small firm. And I think maybe we should have more, you know, outreach with law schools and trying to get people interested, you know. I didn't really think, you know, working in insurance was a possibility for me. I didn't know really much about it till, you know, I got into it. But I think we have to find a way to like find younger people. And I know Rise is doing that by getting involved with people in college. And I think that's just what needs to be done because, like you were saying, everybody wants to go into banking or commercial law because it just seems more glamorous. But at the end of the day, it's all the same. It's not really that glamorous.
No, it's not. And I was one of those people who wanted to go into like real estate transactional work. I think if I had done that now, I probably would have quit. I mean, because I'd be out of boredom. Like at least with this, it's like everything's different, right? And there's a different set of facts, and maybe it is like that in like transactional work, but it doesn't seem like it. It really doesn't.
But like you're saying, claims, like I do a lot of lawyers' claims, and it's a claim within a claim. So it's not just the malpractice. You go into like the underlying case, and there's all these different things that have happened, and you're like, wow. And you know, being a lawyer, I get a lot of claims in like real estate or what's divorce law. Those are always the interesting ones. Family law. But yeah, it's stuff I never practiced before. So I was like, oh, this is kind of interesting. But yeah, I think we have to find a way to find younger people. I know it's a big problem. It's probably not going to happen overnight, but it's going to take a while.
And it's interesting. Like my 20th college reunion is coming up in a couple weeks. And there were a group of 5 of us in college who were like really close friends. And 3 of us ended up in the insurance industry. And and it's just so bizarre because one, he was math major, so he kind of knew he wanted to be an actuary, but the other 2, like we all ended up moving to Hartford at some point, which is, I think, also part of it is that I didn't even know about anything in insurance until I moved to Hartford, and that's, you know, the quote unquote insurance capital of the world, and that's what almost everybody did. But it's just kind of like an interesting transition that in college, it wasn't talked about, you know, other than maybe actuarial science.
Yeah.
So, and then my other roommate, she's now one of Shamu's trainers at SeaWorld. So I don't think she was going to go into insurance either way.
But that is a very cool job.
Is it though? It's stinky. It's like a really smelly job.
A little more glamorous. I don't know, maybe a little wetter. I don't know.
I don't think I would choose that job. That job's like do you like to touch fish and throw them? Like they stink.
Like she does the tricks and stuff. Like does like the whole thing. Yeah.
All right. Well.
Or you can handle claims. I mean, either one.
Or you could handle SeaWorld's claims, which I bet is very interesting.
Well,
there you go.
Now you're in business.
Together. But I do agree with you. I think that you're right. I think that people need to just know about it. Like if you know that this industry is out there, the job stability, upward growth, a good salary, lots of opportunity, lateral and upward. I mean, it really is a great industry to get in. It's just having somebody tell you about it is the first step. Yeah.
And I'm with you. And I don't know what law schools are doing now. I just know when I was graduating there, like it was like, you are going to get recruited by a big law, or you're going to have to fight to get one of the other jobs, or you're going to go to the DA's office or the public defender's office. Those are your options. That was pretty much it. And I do wish there was more education out there as to other options, because at the point I only really thought like, okay, I'm not getting recruited by a big firm, so I need to send out a obscene amount of resumes and just wait for the rejection letters.
Well, and especially in the regions where we all went to law school, like the Philly area or the New York area. Like in Philly, there were 7 law schools in the greater Philadelphia area. And we are all competing for those same jobs because everybody wanted to stay in Philly, right? And if they had somebody that said, like, you can apply to work at any of these insurance companies in Philadelphia if you want a job, to go into an office, I think that would have been a game changer for so many people.
Yeah, and at the same time, and I remember when I got my first real job, and it was at like an insurance defense firm. I didn't even know what insurance defense was. I was like, I don't even know. Like, I was like, what is this? And I was like, oh, like I no one explained at all. I just had to learn it there. I was like, oh, now I understand. Going in, I thought like my client was going to be the insurance company. I was going to defend the insurance company. Like that's what it sounded like in my mind.
Right.
So overall, more education needed. Maybe they're doing it now. I didn't get it then. It was definitely a trial by error process.
So do you have like kind of like goals of where you want to be with handling claims in like 5 years, 10 years? I mean, what is like, what interests you in the insurance world?
Oh yeah. So, I would like to continue moving up, and instead of just managing claims, managing people, and, maybe be head of claims. Ultimately, that would be my goal. So I would like to stay in insurance and make a career out of it. It is recession proof, and I do enjoy it a lot.
Yes, it is very much recession proof. And again, that's why I ended up in litigation, because during the recession, no one was getting jobs anywhere else,
But when I was at a firm, a bunch of my friends worked in finance at those big companies. And like, I know my one friend, I forget what company she worked at, she got promoted. And then a week later, she got laid off. And I was like, I don't want to deal with that. That was just awful. But yeah.
Well, it is recession proof. I graduated law school in 2008. And so even my colleagues who had jobs lost them before they even started them. And everyone was just scrambling. Like there was nothing to do. And that's why I had a family member who worked in insurance. And I remember just being like, are you insurance? Like, are you kidding me? I had the most pro bono hours in my graduating class. Like I thought I was going to save the world. And instead I handled claims. Saving the world one claim at a time.
Yeah, I mean, you're doing good. You're doing good. I remember at that time too, a lot of like my friends who had gotten the coveted big firm jobs, and then they were getting notices. Okay, we're deferring your start date. Oh, we know we said this was going to be your salary, but actually it's going to be this. It was still a great salary, still well more than mine, which was nothing because I didn't have a job. but it sucked for them because it was probably pretty stressful too.
So I know that you live in New York City and that you spend a lot of your time out in like the Pocono area. So are you more of a city girl or a country girl, or what do you prefer?
I think I used to be more of a city girl, but ever since COVID, I think I prefer, being out in the country, hiking, something more serene, less busy. So, like I said, I like to go birding. So
you do a lot of pigeoning.
Pigeon.
Yeah, there are, there is a lot of, in Brooklyn and Greenwood Cemetery, there is a bunch of monk parakeets that live there. So yeah, they live there. You can see them. There's a lot of birds there. So not just pigeons.
So do you think you're going to stay in the Brooklyn area? Do you think eventually you're going to move out to the suburbs?
Yeah, probably move. I just
Brooklyn is beautiful though.
Yeah. I guess we'll see wherever life takes me, right?
I always thought I'd be a city person, and now I drive my kids to their middle schools in like the literal middle of nowhere with like barns all around it. Like sometimes I look around like, how did this happen? When did this occur?
I know.
But I guess it goes hand in hand with birding and being in your coastal grandma phase. It just one day.
I remember I used to have that very like idyllic idea of like moving after I graduated college. I was like, I'm gonna move to New York City and I'm gonna like get this awesome job. And I like remember I got a few offers and then I was doing the math. I'm like, I can't move to New York City. They're offering me $45,000. Where am I living? Like this isn't gonna work.
I think that's unfortunately the dream that was painted for us, like elder millennials. Like every rom-com movie that came out in the late 90s, it was a beautiful woman who worked as a journalist for some sort of like fashion magazine, but was trying to be like a serious journalist living in New York City. I mean, I could probably name 5 of them, and that's what I thought.
I mean, you pretty much just described Devil's Wear Prada.
Well, and How was the Guy in 10 Days?
Yeah,
Oh, yes.
the Guy in 10 Days. That's what I thought of.
And you had your outfit that you were supposed to be able to wear to the office, and then somehow quickly like remaneuver it to be nighttime ready to go to the clubs.
Yeah. And I love those like memes though too. They're like, I really thought like the transition from day to night was gonna be more of a thing for me.
Exactly. My children will never know what it was like to get that like Glamour or Cosmo or YM magazine in the mail.
I know, and like I think it was last summer and I was trying to get my daughters to read, which they just like allergic to reading, and I was like, how about even a magazine? Like like can I just get you a magazine and read that? Like, and anything just to read words in the summer would be ideal. And I think I got one of the magazines. She didn't even read it. I was like, oh my God. Like, I would read those things cover to cover.
Oh, yes. Every little time. Oh, they were like, take the quizzes.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I don't know, like, I don't think there's an equivalent now. Like, I don't think watching all the things that they watch on TikTok or whatever about the tutorials, although they're learning way more than I did about how to do makeup and all of that. So maybe that's like their equivalent, because like I read all those makeup tips too and I was hopeless. So they are way better.
Oh yeah. I agree.
My daughter has her dance recital tonight and she's Ursula, and she did her makeup. She's 12, and I was so impressed by her makeup. Like it looked like it was professionally done when she was up on the stage, and there's no way I could have been able to do that when I was 12 years old.
I couldn't do it now.
No.
Like there's not a chance. I own like 3 items to put on my face, like makeup wise, other than like the creams that are supposed to make me look younger that aren't working. But like, like if I have to get like actually dressed to go someplace presentable, like they need to do it.
And I also have to ask them. Like last night, I was going to the violin concert, and I was like, "Does this outfit look okay? Like, do my shoes go with my pants?" And they'll tell you if you don't look okay. So, best ones to ask.
And this is 100% off topic, but I'm curious, Jen, what did they play at the concert? Like, what were the song choices? Because we also had a concert last night, and I was very impressed by the orchestra song selections.
So their big number was "Hot to Go."
What is that? Is it a popular song? Should I know it?
I don't know it.
Thank you.
Do you know HOTTO?
Oh yes. Okay. Oh, that's good.
Yeah, so that was them. But then they played like, I know they're 4th grade. I don't know if you were in 4th grade or 6th grade orchestra.
This was 4th and 5th. Yeah.
Yes, so same. And they played like Mary Had a Little Lamb and Turkey Time and just like the basics, your basic beginner songs.
Okay. Yeah, this orchestra, they busted out they had a Coldplay song.
Oh.
And then they had that Keen song, like somewhere, and then there was the 2 that I didn't know what they were. But they were pretty good. The band. Band was just okay. The orchestra I was much more impressed by. I was like, they did a good job.
Yeah, we had the chorus concert last week, and that was also, quite fun.
Yes, we had that last night too. It was all combined. It was a yacht rock theme for chorus, which actually was good. I kind of loved the music teacher. I was like, I'm glad you. He's like, I just pick songs that I like, and I think the parents will like, and then the kids usually get on board.
So they weren't playing Chapel Roan, is what you're getting at.
No, it was not. No.
So, Alex, being in Brooklyn, are you a sports fan at all?
Not really.
With you, Alex. I'm with you.
Sorry, no.
That's all right. That's all right. I took my kids to a Liberty game last year.
Oh, nice.
Now this year we're going to go out to Indiana to go to a Fever game. But both of my girls, and they've been to New York City before. But we took the train in and we ended up and took them over to Times Square. And they were like, we hate it here. We hate it here. And then we got to Brooklyn and they were like, why didn't you just take us here the whole time? Great. Next time we'll just
go. There's trees.
They loved it. They were so mad that like, how dare I take them into Times Square?
Oh. Well, I'm from Brooklyn, so I'm glad that they liked it.
Well, you'll have to give us tips for next time we're in the city and like where to go get pizza in particular.
Oh, definitely.
So did you grow up in Brooklyn?
Yes, I did.
So what was that like for you, like growing up? Because I grew up in like, you know, the basic countryside, and so did Jen. So like, what was your experience growing up, like going to school in the city? Like I just have Gossip Girl in my mind, so like
you know, it's funny, I'm from Brooklyn, my husband's from Brooklyn too.
Wow.
So I grew up in Dyker Heights, Brooklyn, which is known as the Christmas capital. They have like all these houses that decorate for Christmas. You know, it was nice. I mean, I went to a Catholic all-girls high school, so not exactly like Gossip Girl. No. A little different.
Yeah, a little bit.
But yeah, I took the train to high school and stuff, so I guess it's a little different than, you know. But I had a car too, so I mean, I where I lived in Brooklyn, it was a little more suburban, so you could drive, and you know, like I've even driven in the city. I know some people are afraid of that, but I'm not. But yeah, I think it was just normal for me. My parents are from Brooklyn, and so are my grandparents. So I've been there a while. A lot of deep roots.
Yeah. And is your family still like generally in the city?
Yes. Some people have moved to Jersey, but my parents still live in Brooklyn. My grandmother used to have a brownstone in Park Slope, but she passed away a couple of years ago. So she still had that for a while, which was nice. Yeah. And that area is totally, you know, that's a nice area. It's totally revolutionized. But yeah, I mean, it's a cool place. It's more trendy now, Brooklyn, than it used to be. Like everybody wants to live in Greenpoint or Park Slope. So we'll see what happens. Yeah.
I love watching like over time, like how neighborhoods like evolve and change. Like I went to college in DC, and then I lived in DC in the DC area afterwards. And I remember even from like my freshman year, certain areas of DC, like you just didn't walk in. Like, and now it's like, it's totally commercialized. Like it's beautiful. And it's just like the evolution of neighborhoods I find so fascinating, and how, you know, how it works, and like looking back on it too, like even like the waterfront in DC, I'm like, the waterfront, like like the Southeast waterfront, like that, I don't even know what was there because you didn't go there. And now it's, you know, but you build a stadium and then you build everything around it, and it's a flourishing area. But it's really, I love looking at it and like watching how things have changed over time. Well, Alex, we were pretty much just out of time, but before we let you go, what I ask pretty much every guest who comes on this podcast, you know, knowing what you know now and looking back at everything you've learned over time, what advice would you give your younger self?
I would say don't be afraid to do things and just jump in and do it. Like if someone asked you to be on a panel, I was afraid, but you just do it anyway, because, you know, you never know what'll happen. Or just go somewhere. You never know who you'll meet.
Yeah. I love that. That's great advice too. Because I remember it too, like when you're when I was trying to start networking and things like that, I'd be like, I don't want to be on a panel. Like, I gotta sound stupid. Like, I don't know anything, but, and like, I mean, you just need to jump for it and be like, you'll learn it. You won't, everyone else is probably having the same, butterflies in their stomach. And if anything, you're going to make like new friendships and connections. And a lot of times at those panels, no one's listening anyway. So
exactly.
So might as well just do it.
Fair point.
I apologize. I offended all the people who do listen, but I've been at many of those panels and I see everyone on their phones and their computers. I'd say they get a 30% listening rate. But the panels are important because you make good connections.
Exactly.
And you learn something. Well, Alex, thanks so much for joining us today. It's been a pleasure chatting with you. I'm so glad that Jen met you and you guys you connected at Executive Summit, and hope to see you again. And of course, for all our listeners out there, if you like what you hear, please like and subscribe to Claims Never Sleep. You can find us on your favorite streaming platform as well as YouTube. Thanks for tuning in.
This is the Claims Never Sleep podcast, presented by Cruiser Mitchell, with your host, Meghan Henry.